Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
I'm trying not to overcall it, but I do believe we've seen a flattening, a falling off of that curve.
Hopeful news in the battle to slow the spread of COVID-19 in BC. Also, 2 more deaths, 67 new cases of the virus in our province, and
we were given an hour to actually go in and get anything that we needed out of the gym.
30-second hold starting now.
breaking a sweat online to keep clients fit during the pandemic.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening. She is treading very cautiously, but some positive signals tonight from BC's top doctor in fighting COVID-19. Dr. Bonnie Henry says there are signs of a possible slowing of the spread of the virus in our province. CBC's Tanya Fletcher is here live with more. And what did we learn today, Tanya?
Well, Mike, a glimmer of hope with BC's earliest trajectories. Models now suggest that physical distancing has halved the spread of COVID. And here's the graph everyone is watching tonight. Now, because there's a 14-day incubation period, there's a 2-week lag in seeing those efforts kick in. The gray line would be with no measures taken in BC. The red line is where we're actually at now. So keep in mind, look at the arrow. It was mid-March when BC first started implementing measures. And you can see that gap starting to widen between where we would be and where we're at now with those measures. In the 2 weeks since those measures came into place, the climb of the new cases has slowed from 24% growth per day to about 12% now per day. And Dr. Bonnie Henry credits a few reasons for that.
One is our changing testing strategy, but also, driven by our physical distancing and the important thing that everybody is paying attention to that physical distancing, as well as the restrictions in travel. So that other group of people that were continuing to come into BC, having been exposed to this virus in other countries, that has also stopped, and that's made a difference in our trajectory as well.
Interesting models to look at, Tanya. What about hospital beds? Do the models suggest we have enough?
Yes, but where that bed capacity comes from depends on the situation. The province is breaking down 2 phases of hospital capacity. Primary sites, those are 17 biggest hospitals in the province, and secondary sites, those are 38 smaller hospitals and other facilities. Now, using those parameters, Health Minister Adrian Dix outlines BC's hospital capacity under 2 scenarios.
Using the likely scenario of below or at a Hubei epidemic level using ICU and high acuity unit bed capacity along with vent capacity, we are reasonably focused on being able to handle that within the 17 COVID-19 care sites. If we were to move to a Northern Italy trajectory, BC would have to use all sites to meet bed demand and implement increased transportation of patients between sites.
Now, Italy's hospital system was already full when the surge hit, overwhelming that healthcare system. But BC has had the luxury of advance warning to free up critical beds and resources like canceling those elective surgeries. Here's a slide looking at the hospital beds. Non-COVID patients may be moved around to free up acute care beds. Look on the right, you can see BC has proactively freed up more than 3,900 hospital beds by deferring non-essential surgeries. But you can see there we do have a deficit, at least in Northern Health, if beds aren't moved around.
All right, what about ventilators? Does our province have enough of those?
Same kind of thing. The province believes it should have enough ventilators to meet demand, even if it follows Italy's extreme pattern. Here's another graph. This chart assumes 80% of patients in ICU will need a ventilator. You can see the most populated areas of the province are better equipped for a bigger outbreak, with Northern Health seeing the fewest ventilators right now. But BC does have a total of more than 1,200 province-wide, with more on order. And so health officials are working with BC Ambulance on transportation plans to be able to move patients and equipment around the province as needed. Mike?
All right, Tanya Fletcher joining us live tonight. Thanks. Meanwhile, word this afternoon that 2 more people have died in BC from COVID-19, but more people are recovering. Our Dan Burritt has more on the latest infection numbers that were released just a few hours ago. Dan?
Mike, 16 people have now died from COVID-19 in our province after the province announced 2 more deaths today. We now have 67 new confirmed or presumptive cases in our province, 792 in total. As you said, of those, 275 people have now fully recovered. That is a large increase from yesterday. Still, long-term care homes are being hit. The province says staff at 2 more long-term care facilities are infected with COVID-19. They're both in Fraser Health. One is the Harrison at Elam Village in Surrey, and the other is Chartwell Independent Living at Langley Gardens in Langley. With those, the province has now recorded 11 outbreaks at 11 long-term care homes to date. Despite that, Dr. Bonnie Henry says the provincial modeling that Tanya talked about earlier gives her a glimmer of hope. But that depends on you and I and everyone else staying at home, avoiding others, and keeping 6 feet from everyone.
I'm trying not to overcall it, but I do believe we've seen a flattening, a falling off of that curve. What we need, though, is for everybody to continue to pay attention to these measures so that we can continue to prevent the transmission in our communities, continue to separate, to stop those chains of transmission in all of the settings in our communities for the coming weeks.
Yes, Mike, Dr. Henry said coming weeks.
Yes, she certainly did. And Dan, the city of Vancouver has moved in on a business it says wasn't following Dr. Henry's orders. What's going on there?
That's right. A Tim Hortons downtown has had its license suspended after the city moved in. City staff say they checked the eatery at Abbott and Pender 4 times and issued several warnings. Now it's been ordered shut for 3 days. Not exactly clear what rules it broke, but the city says the failure to comply is considered gross misconduct, Mike. And they've done 7,000 inspections at restaurants in recent days. Back to you.
All right, Dan Burrett with us live tonight. Thanks for the update there. Well, Ottawa is offering more help to small and mid-sized businesses so they can try to keep employees on the books through this crisis. Today, Prime Minister Trudeau increased a wage subsidy substantially.
We're bringing that percentage up to 75% for qualifying businesses. This means that people will continue to be paid even though their employer has had to slow down or stop its operations because of COVID-19. We're helping companies keep people on the payroll so that workers are supported and the economy is positioned to recover from this.
Trudeau says payroll assistance through wage subsidies will be backdated to March 15th. He says it'll help companies rehire workers who were recently laid off and keep them on for the coming months. Smaller businesses will also have access to guaranteed bank loans of up to $40,000 interest-free for 1 year. In addition, GST and HST payments, duties and taxes on imported goods will be deferred until June. Well, the money is welcome news for many business owners struggling to stay afloat here in BC. Our John Hernandez caught up with some employers who say the relief can't come soon enough.
The deep fryers are still sizzling at East Vancouver's Down Low Chicken Shack, but the lunch rush looks a lot different than it did just 2 weeks ago.
It's been an ever-adapting, ever-evolving business model for us that up until today felt like we were really fighting it alone.
Masks for employees, social distancing lines, and a makeshift takeout window. All to keep the chicken moving out and the dollars trickling in.
Our staff safety is the utmost importance. We've had to reduce our business levels as a result of that, so we have seen a business downturn as a result.
Businesses on the drive, much like everywhere else in BC, have been struggling, but today, some much needed relief. Wage subsidies up to 75% are on the way for owners to keep employees on the payroll.
That's huge, and it also, it's taking a lot of the stress off of us because obviously I don't think our business has gone down a lot, but it's definitely going to take a hit from this, and I think just having that security is so important, knowing that we can rely on them.
I really think this gives not just restaurants, but a lot of small businesses a fighting chance to come out of this. Still be able to maintain operations and employment.
Still, many businesses have already closed up shop, in some cases laying off entire staff. Owners here at the Rio Theatre hope they can access the subsidy once they reopen.
Business isn't going to come roaring back, like the virus never happened. Because as long as we're still dealing with the virus as a community, it's going to affect business.
For now, owners will tough it out and wait on Ottawa for more details as they continue to weather this storm. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, spring break ends on Monday in most districts around BC, but with schools closed to halt the spread of COVID-19, parents and students are still in the dark as to how education will continue in BC's public schools. So far, there's very little information, despite the fact our Alberta and Washington state neighbors announced strategies days ago. But as Eric Rankin with our Impact Team reports, BC's education minister insists we are ahead of others and revealed a website for parents today.
Complex carbohydrates like bread are broken down into simple sugars.
40-year-old Krista Sigurdsson isn't sure if this will be her foreseeable future, homeschooling her two boys, aged 6 and 10, when spring break ends on Monday.
Oh, that's why people say sunlight's good for your body, right?
Yeah.
Like most BC parents, she's still waiting to hear what's planned for their education, with schools closed due to the COVID-19 crisis. Sigurdsson wonders why the delay.
Maybe a month ago, many people were calling for the schools to close. So there was a lot of awareness that this might happen.
BC announced a halt to in-class instruction a day into spring break, March 17th, but has yet to announce a clear plan for remote schooling. Instead, education officials are promising parents will hear from teachers by April 3rd. The province says school boards must have strategies in place by mid-April. Contrast that with our neighbors. Alberta announced a detailed plan on March 20th. Washington on March 23rd.
I do feel that the province and the district could have put their heads together and figured something out such that this rollout wouldn't feel sort of delayed.
But the province's education minister says it's the opposite. BC is ahead and announced a new online resource for parents.
Today we're launching a website called Keep Learning BC that will be available for parents if they like to look at over the weekend. It will have some good resources and good suggestions about how ongoing learning opportunities are going to look like in the coming weeks and months.
Vancouver School Board acknowledges it might learn from other jurisdictions and that parents are concerned.
Communication is essential, and we understand that. And we understand that in the absence of it, there's anxiety, there's the fear of the unknown.
Vancouver School District and other school boards around the province contacted many parents today, promising more information by the end of next week. Sigurdsson says until details are hammered out, parents will have concerns about their kids.
No matter what happens, there's going to be a great deal of catch-up.
Eric Rankin, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, fitness centers all over the continent are closed because of COVID-19, which leaves two major questions. How do you stay in shape when you can't go to the gym? And how do people in the fitness industry make ends meet? As Jesse Johnston with the Impact Team reports, trainers and their clients are looking for answers online.
Yeah.
Working from home comes with its share of challenges, like
Yes, so.
distractions.
All right.
But these days, if your business is personal training,
What are you in a rush? Jeez.
distractions are the least of your concerns.
We got an email at 5:08 p.m. on Tuesday letting us know that the gym was closing at 5 p.m. So that was a little bit startling.
Okay, let's switch sides now.
With no job and no gym to train in, Sims and his business partner, Terry Lynn Nelson,
And that's going to give you a nice stretch in the straight leg.
turned the living room of her Vancouver apartment into a fitness studio. Now, they stream workouts online for their clients.
That's perfect.
Everyone wave.
Katie Gallagher is in the same situation. Her studio, Tight Club Athletics, closed March 17th, so her living room is now a fitness studio too. She invited us to watch an online workout. Respecting physical distancing rules, of course.
And we're charging $6 a class, and we're seeing anywhere between, 50 and 100 people attending our classes.
50 to 100 people, some better equipped for workouts than others.
In last night's class, I saw someone, instead of using weights, they used little plant pots. And, I'm sure we all have some little succulent plant pots in our house. Those weigh, 1 or 2 pounds.
Most of that money goes to Gallagher's trainers. Not a perfect business model, but it's helping people get by, and it's filling a need.
Terry-Lynn's going to reach her legs out, and then she's going to reach her hands overhead.
Movement is a great form of therapy.
Okay.
At a time
30-second hold starting now.
when everyone can certainly use it.
Fitness kitty.
So,
Jesse Johnston, CBC News, Vancouver.
And if you're maybe feeling like a beer after the workout, we should tell you that BC liquor stores are going to be closed on Sundays starting this weekend. Store hours were reduced last week and remain open, though, from Monday through Saturdays between 11 a.m. and 7 at night. BC liquor stores also installing plexiglass shields at the checkout areas to help with the physical distancing rules. The COVID-19 virus can live up to several days on some surfaces, but experts say there's no reason to worry about the groceries you bring home. As Andrea Ross reports tonight, it comes down to basic hygiene.
COVID-19 is spread through respiratory droplets, not food, and health officials say there have been no reports of the virus spreading by touching food packaging. But it can live on surfaces for several hours, so here's how you can make sure your groceries are safe. Wash your hands when you get home from the store. Don't forget your fingernails and the backs of your hands. You can use soap and water to wipe down hard surfaces. You can also wipe your containers if you want to. Don't mix chemicals. You could end up creating toxic gases. A recent study found how long the virus survives depends on the surface. There's no evidence the virus multiplies or grows on items in a fridge, freezer, or cupboard. You can rinse your fruits and vegetables in cool water like you normally would. You don't need to wash meat, poultry, or eggs. Cooking kills COVID-19 and other microbes. Wash your hands after putting away your food and before preparing a meal. And the BC Centre for Disease Control says if you are sick with COVID-19, don't make food for others. A lot of this just comes down to basic hygiene, like frequent hand washing. But the riskiest part is at the grocery store, so make sure to stay 2 meters away from other people.
Well, we've been seeing and hearing people clap and cheer from their balconies, and thanks to healthcare workers every night at 7 o'clock. Now across the province, fire and police departments are running their sirens to salute those fighting COVID-19 as well.
Great job, guys. Well done.
Brett is here. The weekend is here. Yes. Is it the weekend?
I guess so.
Okay.
One of those times, I don't know if you've seen this on the internet, but there's a day calendar. Yeah. It looks like a clock, but it tells you if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think those are going to be flying off the shelves right now. Now, when it comes to our weather here across much of the lower mainland and for the south coast of BC, it is going to be a showery one. So I hope you're cozy inside because you are going to be probably staying there for the next little while. But I do want to mention that elsewhere in the interior of our province, I don't want to scare people here. This is not saying that there is snow coming to the towns, but rather for our highway passes. The Coquihalla could be seeing 30 to 40 centimeters of snow accumulate through Sunday. And for things like Rogers Pass and Kootenay Pass, that could be 15 to 25 centimeters. Now, of course, most people will be staying in, but for our essential workers such as truckers, we thank you and definitely please drive carefully. In terms of the forecast across the province, you're going to definitely see these showery conditions persist throughout the entire weekend. Not a non-stop rain, but probably more showers than not, especially when it comes to Saturday. In the interior, we are looking at definitely a bit of drying conditions come Sunday for places like the Okanagan and the Kootenays, but as I mentioned, there is some snow just at the higher elevations and places farther to the north, even toward Fort St. John, potential there to be seeing upwards of 20 centimeters of snow this weekend. So winter is still hanging on no matter what the calendar actually says. Back here, our rainfall forecast, just so you can see, we are looking at a comfortable 20 to 40 millimeters for the vast majority of us here, and we desperately do need that rain. It's been a very dry month, and this will allow all of our spring flowers to be growing and staying on track. In our 5-day forecast here, you're not going to be seeing much sun. I'll be honest, we're just going to be dealing with a lot of cloud and off and on showers for the next little while. But temperatures pretty well where they should be, if not a degree or two below seasonal. But hey, this is spring and April only next week. It's already here.
There you go. All right, Brett, thanks very much. And a quick reminder for local news anytime, we're at cbc.ca/BC. Coming up next, more COVID-19 coverage along with news from across the country and around the world as we join the National. Anita Bath with more BC News at 10. Stay safe and stay right here.